nobody's good at prayer. Nobody's good at prayer. Nobody knows what to do talking to an invisible person in an empty room. And here I am creeping up on 30 years. And I feel like I've been in the school of prayer. I've written 9 books. I've got hundreds of hours online, prayer albums. I can live on the residuals and preach those same messages, do those same things that I've done. And the majority of the American church and American world won't know the difference.
They wouldn't be none the wiser.
But I will. Is that I'm coasting. I found it in my early days, that the greatest impact and greatest success that I have is in the presence of God. That there is a throne that's higher than every other place, platform, influence of this world. And that if we connect firstly with that throne, everything else is a step down.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Faithustle Podcast. I am so excited to be back after our Sabbath month and excited for more episodes about building business God's way. We bring in leaders, entrepreneurs, investors, people who have built their business, their organizations God's way. Today is no exception. Honestly, this is one of the most special episodes because I have a gentleman here with me that literally has impacted my prayer life, has literally the origins of Faithustle, we'll get into it, came from his message. And I am just so excited to have this conversation. If you're new here, literally we do this every single week. And so we're excited you're on the journey with us. Shout outs to the great people here at Lux Creative Studios for allowing us to use your space. Here in McKinney, Texas, if you have a podcast, you want to start one, this is a great place for you to come. Tell them that Mukwenda sent you and they'll send you a little discount on me. Love you guys so much. But today, seriously, I couldn't have, even how the Lord orchestrated this to happen, I couldn't have picked a perfect way to come back and release these episodes. I have with me someone who has been such instrumental, again, in my life, in the prayer movement. And we're going to be talking on all things prayer, leadership, and how to last well. And so without further ado, Mr. Corey Russell.
Mukwenda, what is up, man?
Yes.
What is up?
We are here.
We're here.
Come on. Coming down. Y'all came down from Oklahoma.
Yep, that's right. Just over the border, preaching.
Come on.
And just wild how quickly this happened. And
literally.
It was amazing.
One text and was like, hey, y'all need to meet, and just super grateful. And it was getting to hear even just the journey of the things you're building right now, which we'll get into, Corey Russell Online, and all the things, how you're empowering young leaders. But thank you for the investment you're making in the young leaders. I'll give context for those that don't know, and obviously we'll give context to your background. But December 2023, before Faithustle started, it was a dream in my heart, something I knew God wanted me to do, but I didn't have the courage to do it. I was timid, honestly. And I was really wanting to hear from God. So I went to the end of year. It was when I was in Fort Worth. I think the only time. It was like in the convention center.
That's right.
And I was thinking back, it wasn't even a message. You were doing the offering, and then you just went off. And during your session, that's when I heard clear as day, the Lord give me the green light, said, go, start. Wow. We started 2 months later. We launched the first podcast February 7th, 2024. But in that session, you said something, and I want to kind of kick us off here, and then we'll work backwards. You said a statement, and the only other person I've heard make this statement is my pastor, Pastor Earl, that when you step on a platform, you are not stepping up, you're stepping down because you've already been in the presence of God. And it marked me, and after getting that yes from God of, okay, build this, it was equally, hey, you've already arrived.
That's right.
Like, you're not building something to obtain something you don't already have.
Yeah. Because
you have me. I'd love to hear just, because from what I know of you, that's the echo of your heart. Like, yeah. Just, I'd love for you to lean more into that, of like what that means.
Yeah, I think that we're really struggling in this generation. There's a lie about all the metrics of success, significance, impact, and we want our lives to count. But I feel like we've been fed a lot of lies, and that the culture outside has infiltrated much of the church, and I have just found it in my early days, that the greatest impact and greatest success that I have is in the presence of God. That there is a throne that's higher than every other place, platform, influence of this world. And that if we connect firstly with that throne, everything else is a step down.
Yes.
Everything else. So I've been in the presence of the King of the nations all morning.
Jeez.
The one who spoke everything into existence, upholds the cosmos by the word of his power. I've been hanging out with him all morning. And I don't care if I'm stepping into a stadium, it's a step down.
Jeez.
I don't care if I'm stepping into influencing nations, it's a step down. Because I think that's really important, because that way, when you're connected that is my primary source, my step down, no matter how big it is or how small it is, the pay is the same. Oof. And it's about faithfulness.
Yes.
The pay is the same, and I'm faithful to what God's put before me. And then I'm not getting overly depressed if it's small, or over to getting too lost over here if it's really big, is that this doesn't really move me. And I think for the ones who aren't that moved by how big or how by little, God can trust them with a lot of stuff.
If you're not moved by how big or how little, that's when God can trust you.
That's right.
Jeez. I honestly, that's where I have, even myself, have been challenged in. And I know a lot of, again, we serve entrepreneurs, we serve leaders, we serve ambitious people.
Absolutely, which is beautiful.
It's amazing. Like, it's not evil.
No.
As long as it's submitted to Christ.
Absolutely.
But there is this kind of, well, what I do is who I am. And so if it's not working or if it's not big, then that's a reflection of me.
That's right.
And so it's like, well, I am not enough unless this thing does that. And it's just a constant
sonship. Sonship is what settles 1,000 voices, both outside and inside, is to know that you're dearly beloved of the Father. You're enjoyed by him. And when that settles on the inside of you, it frees you. And I think that is the prerequisite for stewardship of all, is the fact that I've connected with something bigger. Man. Anyway.
No. Listen,
so
no, we're all the deep end. No, that is, if I could get every leader to get that.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, so even just context for you, for Faith Hustle, where I'll have several people ask me, so like, what's the goal of this? Like, what's the win?
Yeah.
And truly, it's not even just like to be deep. I didn't need this. I was like happy doing what I was doing.
Exactly.
I wanted to make an impact. But for me, I was like, I've seen the face of regret. I've seen people, clients in their 40s, 50s and up, that you're just like, they can't get those years back of them building through anxious toil.
Totally.
Through them building through not sonship, and just like they're chasing their tail to get something.
They're still proving something to dad.
Yes.
That's what they're doing.
Yes.
They're still saying, Dad, look at what I can do even without you.
Yes.
Look at who I am, what I've done. And that is the metrics and the measurements of my success. So you really are trying to make dad proud.
Yes.
Which is an orphan. And that's why all the wheels start falling off. Marriages fall apart. The businesses, the stress, the physical ailments, it's because we were never designed to do that. And God uses that in many of our stories to wear us out and to say, hey, do you want to try this my way? Oof. I mean, we didn't meet Jesus till he was 30. And what does he hear? He's hidden.
Yes.
We have no paradigm for hidden. Jesus took really years of the 20s of that decade, and we don't know anything about it.
No.
We know nothing about it. He's probably serving mom, faithful, alignment, but he hears from the Father at 30, this is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. And that will launch him for the next 3.5 years of ministry. And so I think that is the picture of what is the settling factor to steward wealth, steward impact, success, without it corrupting you and without it defining you.
Yes. And I think the fear, I mean, I've had the conversations with business owners, with leaders, where they're like, yeah, but I don't know a world where if I'm not chasing that, I don't know where my ambition is going to come from.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person? Like, okay, like, that's great, but like, what's going to fuel me?
I feel like the longing for impact and godly ambition is beautiful. I think there's God-designed wirings on the inside of us, in entrepreneurs, in businessmen and women. It's inside of you to build, but when it's motivated from a wrong place and it's not solidified, there's never enough.
Yeah.
And you can't rejoice and enjoy the journey because you're driven by a taskmaster. You're driven by a fear. You're driven by lack. You're driven by, do you see me? And I just find, I mean, that's the fear, really, because what you're doing is you're letting go of the hustle and of the wrong hustle.
The wrong hustle, yeah, 100%.
The wrong hustle, which is orphan hustle. It's orphan hustle and versus sonship hustle.
Yes.
Jesus didn't hardly rest for 3.5 years, okay? And he's in ministry now, forever living to make intercession. Yeah. So it's not about that versus that. It's about motivation. It's about an inward solidifying that motivates your stuff. I would just say there is a death and a fear of, God, what will happen if I let go of this? In this process, you're going to have to lay Isaac on the altar. Oof. You're going to have, as God rewires inside of you.
Yes.
That may be you kicking the gear down to fourth gear or to third gear for all of our for all the old people who used to drive stick shifts. That's what I said. There are some seasons you got to kick in fourth gear to rewire some things in here because a lot of people can sprint for 5 years. We're raising up people that can run hard for 20 and 30 and 40 years.
Yes.
Thriving marriages.
Yes.
Thriving children.
Yes.
Generational wealth.
Yes.
Kingdom impact.
Yes.
All of those things without the wheels falling off the car.
Yes. It is the anchor verse for this show and this movement that God's doing has been Proverbs 10 of the blessing of the Lord makes a man rich, he has no sorrow.
Yes.
That it's there is a different way to build, and it is an adjustment. And it does take a moment to be like, hold up, okay, if I'm not, like you said, Dr. Darius Daniels, he has this quote, he says, kingdom leaders are led, not driven. Because exactly what you say, trauma can drive you.
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, Jesus was led to the wilderness by the Spirit. He was led to the wilderness. And I think that sonship, these are the sons of God, those who are led by the Spirit.
Romans 8, yes.
Yeah. So being underneath the leadership, you're being led versus driven. And I think that's a perfect statement, way to say this.
Yeah, I think it's just, this is a needed shift. So, okay, where we're going in this, I think it's so healthy. Hey, have you been seeing the Faith Hustle Network and been wanting to join, but you've been on the fence? Let me give you the push you need. We have hundreds now of Christian entrepreneurs inside of our Faith Hustle Network learning every week how to build their business God's way, from 7- and 8-figure founders who are all believers, learning how to build biblical-based businesses. If you want to join, now is the time. We are increasing the price September 1st. It is going up to $97 a month, and it will not come back down. So literally, you have a window of time to lock in your membership at $30 a month. So I want to encourage you to take advantage of this. We have hundreds of hours of content, 2 calls a week, mentorship, guidance, all these incredible things, and a network now that is growing up hundreds of entrepreneurs across the country and around the world of business owners just like you, building business God's way in every type of industry. So now is the time to lock it in. Take advantage of it. Be a premium member today. Link is below. I'll see you inside. One of the things that I would say has marked your ministry, and I'd love for you to kind of give a backstory for those, obviously, that don't know you, is that probably the main core to you. If you cut Corey open, I would say prayer, right?
Yeah.
And I it's interesting in 2026 of a Gen Z millennial and specifically a leader of their prayer life. A lot of times it's non-existent. Sometimes they just really don't know how to pray.
Yeah.
How to pray for their business, how to pray over their family, how to, pray for breakthrough.
Yeah.
I love for you to talk about your journey in a life of prayer.
Yeah.
And I think within that, I think we'll get some gems that can stick with those watching.
Well, I'm just going to say this. Nobody's good at prayer. Nobody's good at prayer. Nobody knows what to do talking to an invisible person in an empty room. It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
We got a Bible that we barely know, a God we barely know, us who we don't know. And
At all.
We're sitting here and we're called to connect to this person that Jesus told us to call him Father. And I think that will, one, let everybody exhale for a second.
Yeah.
And the ones we call really good at prayer are the ones who were okay with the awkwardness a little longer.
Ooh. Wait, hold on. Oh, hold up. The ones that were good at prayer were the ones that were okay with awkwardness.
Yeah, just a little longer. They just stayed a little longer. And they said on the other side of this awkwardness is something. And I've got to stay here until. And so, and I think when those are the ones we call prayer, the ones who got okay with the awkwardness until they got safe and began to discover God in that place. I got radically saved in 1997 from Northwest Arkansas, strung out drug addict, and we saw a move of God hit a small town in Northwest Arkansas.
Wow.
Half the high school got saved.
Wow.
5 meetings a week till 3 a.m. I got
Jeez.
addicted to the presence of God.
Yeah.
God moved, and I began to connect the dots that what I was experiencing was the result of someone else's prayer life. And so I began to gravitate to these older women intercessors. These devil come out or I'm coming in after you kind of women. Just wild women.
Get the oil.
Anoint everybody with oil.
Yeah.
Prayer cloths underneath every mattress.
Yeah.
And I spent my first 2 years with these ladies, and they taught me how to pray.
Wow.
Late night prayer, early morning prayer, all kinds of prayer. And in that initial season, I'd get up every week at church and scream at everybody to come to the prayer meeting. And the more I screamed, less people would come, which made me angrier. And the Lord then began to introduce me in the late 90s saying, Corey, the breakthrough you're longing for is a breakthrough within. I want to introduce you to the Holy Spirit dwelling on the inside of you. And he would then take me on a journey in the late 90s. And here I am creeping up on 30 years. And I feel like I've been in the school of prayer.
Wow.
I feel like I've been in this journey of learning how to connect to the Father of Jesus and understand him as my Father and get confident and safe with intimacy. Because a lot of us think prayer, we think list. Jesus, when he said prayer, he says it's first about a person.
Oof. Jeez.
When most of us think prayer, we think talking. Prayer begins with listening.
Oh my God.
We look before we talk. We listen before we speak.
Jeez.
And it's like Jesus wants to rip up our prayer list. He goes, hey, we're not going to get into the prayer list right now. Can I introduce you to somebody? When you pray, say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be his name. Can I introduce you to Father? Can I introduce you to a place called the throne room? Do you know around the throne, they don't stop saying holy. He goes, we'll get to request later.
Right.
But 90% of those requests will be lost when you get, because this is the problem, Mukwenda. We don't know who we're talking to. Most of us view God like a middle-class working dad with 7 billion children.
Jeez. Not enough time.
He's got a good heart, but limited resources.
Jeez. My God. Yeah.
That's how we pray.
Yeah.
We pray for our businesses, for our lives, like he's got a good heart, but my goodness, there's 7 billion people that have needs. And this is, we're not in touch that he is the everlasting Father,
Man.
that he's the Ancient of Days, that his eternity and his power and his wisdom and his glory and his presence is magnanimous and it's glorious. And there's no one like him. And he's rich and he's generous.
Yes.
And he's extravagant and he's kind and he's loving and he's compassionate and he's righteous and he's just. And we don't know who we're talking to.
Man.
And so we live, but then most of us in our prayer lives, we mostly feel guilty over our lack of prayer. And some of it is we're pretty prideful. We really think our own wisdom, strength, and abilities, because humble people pray. Anyway, so man. I think Jesus took me on a journey. He's taken me on a journey, rooting the orphan out of me, teaching me about the indwelling spirit.
Yes, sir.
See, he says prayer is a place you go, but then it's a place you are.
It's a place you are.
He dwells on the inside of you.
Yes.
See, a lot of us treat it like a quiet time. I don't see quiet time in the Bible. I see secret place.
Yeah.
I see go into your room and shut the door.
Yes, yes.
But then what are you doing the other 23 hours of your day?
Yeah.
Okay, God, I'll see you here tomorrow. I'm going to work now. I'll see you tomorrow, Jesus. No, I need Jesus 24/7.
Yes.
And I need him in the board meeting. I need him in the business, in the strategy, I need him. And so Jesus taught us about living in two places at once. He told Nicodemus, he goes, that is the Son of Man who is in heaven. I believe Jesus was connecting to the Father while engaging in the earth all the time. And that's prayer.
Man.
And so I've just been on this journey. I've learned confidence in prayer. I've learned how to pray through boredom.
Yes.
I've learned how to pray when you don't feel nothing. And God says, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
The pay's the same. There's some seasons you feel a lot, other seasons you don't feel anything. Yeah. Pay's the same.
Yes.
Are you married?
Not yet.
All right, it's coming.
Come on. Jesus.
I've been married 28 years.
Wow.
Next week at the time of this recording.
Congratulations.
And I'll tell you what it is. It's lots of mundane, boring times mixed in with sparks and moments of that. But what happens is history is built with a lot of mundane times. And I want to tell you some of our greatest times of going deep in God are the times you're not feeling that much.
Man.
So I've learned about praying through boredom. I've learned how to pray through shame.
Man.
I did it again. I said it again.
Yep.
And now I've got to come talk to God. Oh, no.
Yeah.
And then we live in perpetual timeout until we feel clean again or ready to approach him. What an affront to the blood. What an affront to the cross.
Yeah.
That you're going to live in timeout till you feel better.
Man.
So prayer, see, the devil wars over that because a person connected to God is indestructible. Everything flows out of that. Everything flows out of that. And so that's I've learned how to pray through boredom, pray through shame. I've learned how to pray through suffering. We walked through the loss of a child in 2013. And at 9.5 months old, I walked through 5 years of hell, of praying in the dark night, of praying the Psalms when all you got are groans and tears and guttural, God, where are you?
Yes.
And learning how to pray through suffering.
Yes.
Until you come on the other side. And God gave me, it's like our family got dropped in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and he gave me 5 life rafts called 5 Psalms that carried me back to land.
Man, listen, I know those. It's funny that the season that I've been in, feel myself coming out of, but even still, is Hannah's prayer, where it's tears.
Gosh,
it's just
come on, Mukwenda.
Where it's like your mouth's moving, but nothing's coming out, and somehow God interprets those tears as intercession, and I'm like, yep. This
is one of my core messages is Hannah.
Really?
Yes. I'm not going to preach. I'm not going to I'm not coming on here just to do all this. But.
No, this is good. We need this. This is because all these things is I learned how to pray for my dad. Many people who've listened know his story, but I mean, from Uganda, born in dictatorship of Idi Amin, 2 men from Dallas, Texas, came to his village, preached the gospel to him. That's how he got saved. Then he got filled with the Spirit, accepted the call to ministry. Just radical encounter how he got here, met my mom, and his life of prayer is, I mean, I would wake up 3, 4 in the morning. He's praying in the Holy Ghost in the downstairs.
It shapes you, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Shook the whole house.
But as a kid, you're like, what is going on?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And again, at the time, that's just dad. Mm-hmm. But then you look back on it going, that's not normal.
No. And it's funny, I was telling some friends recently, actually it was yesterday, a friend of mine, he said he's got 2 little girls. He's like, man, and his dad, that wasn't really existing in his life, wasn't a man of faith. So he was like, man, like, what's the real impact of a dad like yours? And I said, COVID 2020, when everybody was losing their mind, I switched the default setting. I just did what I saw my dad do. So I was 4 or 5 hours in the park walking, praying. It kept my mind sane. And I was like, I literally said, I just rehearsed what I saw. I just did what my dad did.
Can I tell you something? One is, I'll go off on Hannah another time. I can't do it right now.
Yeah.
I believe that I'm going to make a big statement. I believe the greatest impact that Jesus made on his disciples, outside of the cross, of course, was his prayer life while with them.
Yes.
I believe that was the greatest impact he made. That's why they asked him, teach us to pray.
Yeah, they were the ones that asked.
That's right.
So they were around him the most. So they must have saw.
They didn't ask him, teach us to preach.
Woo.
They didn't ask him, teach us to heal, do miracles, prophesy, do deliverances. Think about that. Ian Bounds says it was worth a trip from heaven to earth to teach men how to pray.
Jeez.
This is my question to you, Mukwenda, and this is the vision I want to give you and all the people watching this. After people have been around you for a few months, what do they want your prayer life?
Wow.
Do they want your prayer life?
Or do they want your platform?
Ooh.
Or do they want your influence?
We're using everybody.
Man.
Everything's transactional and negotiating you as a means to my stepladder, to my destiny. All right, check it out. I got a vision.
Yeah.
I got a vision.
Oh,
and there's little Timmy waking up 7 a.m. Timmy waking up, running in there with his little bear. And he sees mom and dad on the couch. Bible open, notebook open.
Yeah.
Worship music on, and tears
coming
down mom and dad's face as they're lost in worship and prayer.
Yeah.
Do you understand that our kids are going to remember our tears and our prayers when talking to Jesus far more than our rules about following Jesus? See, that's what you remember.
Yes.
Your dad probably did a lot of amazing things, but there's one thing that is fixed in your soul.
It is
the
that
statement of a humble man on his knees.
Yes.
That is, I believe, the greatest discipleship. See, we're all asking and we've asked them to do everything. Teach me how to preach. Teach me how to heal. Teach me how to deliver.
Yeah.
Teach me how to that. They go, no. The fruit in public is the result of something private.
Yes.
And that's why prayer trumps business, trumps destiny, trumps everything, is this core reality, because the rest are details.
Yes.
All right? Dogs bark, cats meow, and entrepreneurs make money.
Yes.
And they pioneer businesses.
Yes.
And they impact and they bring kingdom and they bring those divine ideas to market and to all those kind of things. That just happens.
Yes.
That's part of the divine makeup. But the core is who are you as you do those things? That's what you see with teach us to pray.
Yes.
Anyway, I got to.
No. This is this is what I wanted people to get is this impart. My dad used to tell me the story of Paul Young-hee Cho from South Korea.
Absolutely.
And how men from the West would marvel of, I mean, I think he had 1 million people like in his church, 1 million members at his church.
They all prayed.
And they're trying to get strategy. So they're like, okay, so what did you do? Prayer.
Yeah.
No, but okay. But what was your prayer? And I think even what you said of like, the disciples didn't ask, okay, they didn't even ask Jesus, okay, how do you lead?
Yeah.
They didn't ask, how do you build?
No.
How do you scale? How do you?
He says, I'm building my church.
Yeah. And it's like, it's like, how do you got something with the Father that is different?
Here's the issue. And this is why prayer is a hard conversation for a lot of people. A lot of us have some really jacked up views of God. The devil's gone after our images of God through messed up earthly dads.
Yes.
Messed up earthly authority figures.
Yes.
And they've created a lot of warped views and images of God. And so all of the pain and the images created through that affects us deeply in prayer. A lot. The devil, he's called the father of lies.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? And so he sows seeds of doubt and unbelief and hesitancy of coming near God because we've bought into lies. He's a liar. He's a manipulator. He might be physically present, but he's emotionally absent. He's not engaged. He uses you. He mistreats mom.
Yes.
There's 1,000 lies that I believe we need to, that's what is going to get uncovered when you go on the awkward journey of prayer.
Yes.
That's the awkward journey is, God, I'm not safe with you. I don't know you. I'm struggling here.
Yeah. My goodness.
That's why I would say theology, your real belief about God is fleshed out and is kind of flushed out.
Yeah.
It's flushed and fleshed.
Yeah.
Through prayer.
Yes. It's funny, we're talking about this. One of my dear friends, Albanier, he's been on the podcast before, just been a great brother. We're starting this new initiative. We're actually about to announce it here pretty soon, and it's scary because it's new, right?
Yeah.
But like, I feel God on it. But I said the Christian thing to say. I'm like, I'm gonna sit on it, pray on it. And he said, hold on. He was like, I love that. He said, that's great. Obviously, like, nothing wrong with that. But he was like, why are you praying as if like God like doesn't want to give you good things?
That's right.
It was not what I said. He caught something on the posture of my perception of God that like somehow I got to convince God to do something. And he's like, I don't think you know how good the Lord is. And it was just like, and of course, has God shut doors? Yes. And that's part of prayer.
Absolutely.
He shapes your desires. He matches it with his will, all of that. And yet I have had prayers where I was fearful. It's like the man with talent. I mean, literally, we talk about multiplication, stewardship, parable of the talents. The third man, his inability to multiply was out of fear. It was fear driven. It was, I knew you to be a harsh man. Who said that?
He did.
He did. It's almost like when the spies, they said they were grasshoppers, who? In our eyes.
Therefore we were in theirs.
But who said that?
They did.
They did. And it's like, oh, so if I see that, if the way I see is going to reflect the way I pray.
Whew. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's why Caleb and Joshua could say, this is ours.
Yeah.
This is ours, because the promise of God was stronger than the giants in the land. And their view of God was bigger.
My God.
Their view of God was bigger than the
Yes.
giants in the land.
Yes. They had a bigger God.
They had a bigger God.
Yeah.
And so that's why the view of God, that's why Hebrews 11:6, he who comes to God must believe that he is
Yes.
who he says he is. But God can be rich, but there can be stingy rich people.
Yeah. Yes.
But he's also a rewarder.
He's a rewarder.
He's generous.
Yes. Yes.
So both.
Yes.
It's his nature and his generous heart
Yes.
that makes up, I think, the two pillars
Yes.
that builds prayer lives.
Man, the right perception, the seeing, and it's you have to have a proper theology. You have to have
It's proper
view.
theology of God.
Yeah, you have to. Otherwise, you will be begging.
Oh yeah, you'll be. It's the orphan. It's the widow. It's the bargaining. It's the, if you break in, I'm going to put in more in the tithe bucket next month. We're always negotiating.
Man.
And that's why we're always negotiating, and that's why it all gets flushed and fleshed through our Father in heaven. Hallowed be your name.
Yes. Come on.
Anyway.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I need you in person with our
Yeah.
leaders to teach them how to pray. Man, this is just so. I mean, there's so many depths of prayer. It's funny. My prayer life was impacted. I was a weird teenager. I got a hold of God at 13 and didn't let go, and just had an encounter with the Lord.
Let's go.
In a living
That tells
room.
me all about your dad.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
God usually, when you're in the family and God's got history with dad,
Yeah.
he takes care of the family.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, all right, 13,
and
you
he
get
did.
marked. And
Oh,
so
yeah, living
who was
room.
marking your teenage years?
I mean, so many. I was in this living room. It was this youth group. There's probably 100 of us packed, and I met with God. We were reading When Heaven Invades Earth.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and
Oh,
just
yeah.
and just hit us. But I was 15. I was in Kenya with my dad. We were doing ministry, and he gave me "Good Morning Holy Spirit" by Benny Hinn.
Oh.
And for the first time, I'd always referred to the Holy Spirit as an it.
Yeah.
Power, tongues or whatever. If you grow with more charismatic expression, it's like, oh, he's a person.
Yeah.
He's got characteristics. He has and I can get to know him and build a relationship with him. It's been the most powerful thing in my personal walk with the Lord, is to walk with the Holy Spirit, and to, like you said, like the praying without ceasing doesn't make sense unless you know that you're talking to a man.
That's right. That's right.
Unless, like, no, this is not just this is not just a, like you said, a little quiet time reserved, but this is someone that wants to walk with you. And I every great man, woman that I know that I've had on the show that is making impact in marketplace, ministry, doesn't matter, life of prayer.
Amen.
And so I'm glad that we're getting this in the foundation, because if we can get this, we're
Absolutely. The rest are details.
yeah, yes,
The rest is the fun stuff.
yeah.
I mean, it just
100%.
flows out of it, but you're not even sweating.
Yes, yes. For this kind of second half, last portion of this time that we have together, as I was praying through this, I was like, man, I want to impart to these young leaders how to last well. And just for clarification, and those who follow the show know that our show is not about controversy. We don't get into that. That's not our heart. We stay Bible, we stay business,
totally.
we stay leadership, we stay, helping people learn how to build God's way. But it's just a reality of, like, we've seen movements rise, we've seen movements fall, we've seen leaders rise, leaders fall. And you've been a part of movements where shake nations.
Yes.
And have seen leaders, prominent leaders,
Yes.
just unfortunately have just bad moral judgment and failure and sin and public sin. And I just love, from your perspective, I would say in most of the conversations that I have with my circle,
Yeah.
we're asking ourselves the questions. Like literally yesterday, me and one of my best friends, we're building together, doing these events together, and we're like, how do we make it?
Yeah.
How do we make it to 60, still loving Jesus, still married, still on fire, still holy,
Yes.
like how do we? It's funny. I'll show this little thing. So we've done 12 events in like a year and a half. To God be the glory.
Praise God.
Probably mobilized close to 2,000 Christian entrepreneurs now, and just all by the grace of God, people have gotten saved, delivered. And to be honest, God had hidden me for a long time. A long time. I didn't touch a mic. And even when I do the events, it's not me. I'm connecting. But the first event I did, I had this like, you ever been an out of body experience? Like you're there,
absolutely.
but you're having like a whole nother conversation with
Yes.
God. And I had this moment. I said, all this attention, I said, oh, I now understand why leaders fall. I don't know why. It just hit.
Wow.
It just hit me. I said,
Wow.
oh, this is addictive.
Wow.
It just hit. I was like, oh yeah, I could get very used to this. I can want to manufacture this again,
Yes.
this feeling again.
Yes.
I can want just the high of like this moment, because the crash after is like is low.
Yeah.
You go from these high moments of, oh, we love you, you're doing great things, da 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 da, all this affirmation, and then you like,
Yeah.
and then you fall. And I was like, there's still things I had to work on. I was like, thank God I knew I was approved by God before I started this.
Yeah.
But still, I was like, oh, I get it. I get it now. I understand. So how can we last as leaders? That's just the question. It's like, I know that's a very broad, big question.
Yeah, I have been, and I was sharing about all my journey in prayer, and some of them I did. I have experienced at a personal level the fall of a spiritual father and of leaders in my life, and it hit me. I've walked through a lot of hard seasons, but this one hit me at a season in my life, my mid-40s, because that's kind of an interesting time too.
Yeah.
You kind of run strong 20s and 30s into your early 40s in the strength of your youth.
Yeah.
There's a transition. There, some might call it midlife or what have you, but in that 45 to 50-ish, there's transition years to where it's not just you moving out of the strength of your youth, but you having to reconnect and move into another phase. I had to pray through sorrow, profound sorrow. I felt like the disciples in the garden kept falling asleep. And sleep to me was coasting. Coasting on the residuals of last season's breakthrough. And so this is the thing that I can do. I've written 9 books. I've got hundreds of hours online, prayer albums. I've done a little bit. I can live on the residuals and preach those same messages, do those same things that I've done. And the majority of the American church and American world won't know the difference.
They wouldn't be none the wiser.
No, by the way, but I would. Is that I'm coasting. I'm not reaching with the same fervor. Yeah. And so for me, and I had to wrestle through that of falling asleep. I was sleeping from sorrow. I just said, God, I just want to quit. This is not what I signed up for. I was in pain. And the Lord, I kept saying, God, I want to end well. My cry came from, I want the fullness of God in my generation to, I just want to love my family and end well. And the Lord says, yeah, that sounds really cool. I'm not asking you to, you want those things, but I want you, you're only the best version of you when you're reaching for fullness in every season.
Jeez.
And he says, so it's about staying in the early days. He goes, but it's different. You got the wisdom, you've got the insight, you've got there's differences and I'm almost 50. And so there's differences about you, but for me, God uses Rocky Balboa. And so for me, it's, you've got to go back to the old gym. You got to stay in the old gym. You've gotten sloppy. You got to get back to early morning prayer. He told the Ephesians, there's first works, which means that there are works that you did in the beginning that kindled and stewarded the flame in your life. And we all have different ways in which God does that with us. So I think you keep doing the things you do in the early days. Okay? So for me, it's, Corey, I need you to get in shape. I need early morning of praying in the Spirit. I need you to, I need you to be pushing in with the things you know.
Yes,
Okay, that's,
yes.
I think it's living on your knees.
Yes.
Uzziah, which I think is a big point, Isaiah 6, which I think I spoke at that same conference you were talking about, but when I preached. Isaiah 6, King Uzziah started off really good as long as he was on his knees. But somewhere along the way, he discovered his gifts. He discovered his gifts, and whatever he did turned to gold. He was building cities and building artilleries and building this and building that. Boom, 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 boom. And he somewhere got off his knees and go, you know what? I can pretty much do anything, and God's with me. And he got off, and guess what happens when you get into that pride? Deception comes in. And you think you can do anything? He thought he could go into the temple and burn incense.
Jeez.
As a priest. And what started off so well, as long as he was on his knees, ended in utter humiliation as he died alone as a leper.
Man.
And Isaiah goes, it was the year King Uzziah died that I saw the Lord. Now that's, so to finish well is to do the things, to never graduate from the 20-year-old. You're 30, okay, Mukwenda?
Yes, sir.
You're never graduating from that 15-year-old boy.
Wow.
As you're growing, developing, doing the stuff God's called you to do, at the heart level, you're never leaving that 15-year-old boy who's meeting Holy Spirit.
Jeez.
You never leave him. Because as soon as you do, then it starts getting weird as you start, hey, I know what my gifts are, and I'm da-da-da-da-da. But see, that little boy, I just want God. That's what made David,
Yes.
David. Is he goes, there's only one thing I want from God. I want to gaze on beauty and quiet his temple. That's why God could trust him with all the money and trust him with all the influence. He never graduated. When he screwed up, he owned it.
Yes.
So I think it's that. I think that the way to finish well is do the first works, get a pastor.
Yes.
Get a pastor.
Yes.
Have
for
somebody.
The love of God.
That's what God, I need a pastor, someone who knows my life and can speak into my life. We need community.
Yes.
We need those safety nets that I think keeps the flame for decades.
Man.
And that's a long way to answer your question.
No, that's a perfect way to answer it. Yeah, do the things you did at first. And it's actually funny. I've gotten several offers over the years to like be on staff, like for vocational ministry, on staff for church, which is like, obviously it's always flattering. And I love it. I'm grateful. I love the local church. I am an advocate for the local church. I'm in it. I serve all the time. And I saw so many of my friends, all the passion in the world, get into the ministry, they join a church. And again, this is not everyone's story.
Totally.
The thing that worried me, well, one, I never got a word. I never felt called to do it, truthfully. That may change, but I never got a word for it. But what concerned me was that their love grew cold. That it was like, and I was like, I'd rather just not. I'd rather just be out here making tents.
Totally.
I'll make videos. I'll do.
Totally.
I'll do it like.
Totally.
I rather that, and my love not grow cold, and to be around it and think that I have.
Because you get inoculated. You get inoculated because we're saying it all the time. We're doing it all the time. And somewhere along the way, you just start, your heart begins to pull back.
Yes.
Or you just become you lose your soul by 1,000 little decisions along the way. And you lose yourself.
Yeah.
And all you have is the language, but you're not reaching anymore.
Yeah.
That's why I just want to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Through every season. But it is, and there's a real battle over that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it is. I think, and I mean, in so many ways, even in the life of a business owner, I think you forget why you started, right? A lot of organizations, they, growth can bring complexity, and so you think, oh, we gotta add more things for this to work, but you actually might need to actually subtract.
That's right.
And to simplify, that it's addition by subtraction, and I'm just here being like, Lord, I want to make it, and still
You're going to.
Yeah.
I want to say this to you. You're going to. All right. And I want to say that to you and all the young people that are watching you. You're going to. You're going to do the simple things. You're going to go to church. You're going to serve. And you're going to keep leaning on brothers. You're going to live in the light. Mm-hmm. And when you hit things in your life, you're going to come to the light.
Yeah.
You're not going to create weird stuff around it. So I just want to say this to you and pull out the crippling fear that keeps you always, because I think fear is also a magnet to not finishing well. You're going to. And we're going to do well, and the church is going to be awesome. We're just in a divine season of God cleansing the church.
Yes.
And he's removing, I think, just man of God on top. Yeah. And just living on islands. He's removing island Christianity. And he's saying, hey man, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I think he's getting us ready for some amazing things that are coming.
Yes.
With glory and changing nations and finances and things that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And I think we're just in a divine season right now. And I think he's putting the fear of God in the 20s and 30-year-olds.
Yes.
Saying, my goodness, you need a good, healthy dose of the fear of the Lord.
Yeah, yeah.
But not a crippling, tormenting fear, but just a sense of this is for real. Yes. So I think a lot of it is he's establishing you guys in the fear of the Lord to steward what he has for this next season.
Yes. And I can concur. The conversations I have, again, I'm talking with folks of influence, leaders, those who are really just pushing things forward digitally, or what these conversations we're having. Yeah. And it really is. It's we're trying to wrestle with it. We're seeing people that we once admired, be like, oh, but it's funny, like the true fear of the Lord, the soberness is not, and I usually try to encourage people, don't go into like, oh, how could they? I could not. It's like, don't let that come out of your mouth. Oh, no, you could.
Absolutely.
We're all one mistake away, one decision, one like staying on those knees.
Stay on your knees.
And just remembering the things you did at first.
That's right.
And all the and I think even just knowing, like, I think the beautiful thing about the fact that we have the Bible is that, like, the enemy doesn't have any new tricks.
No.
He literally, like, recycles the same thing.
That's right.
And so it's like, well, okay, at some point, he's going to convince you that you don't need God, that you got it all by yourself.
Yeah.
That, hey, like, you can do it your way. You can, you can coast.
That's right.
All this different stuff. And it's like, if like, we know, if we can see his playbook through the years, through the stories in the scriptures, it's like, and we have each other to keep ourselves accountable of like, hey, and I have friends, I've told them, if you ever see me slap me.
Absolutely.
Say something.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I mean, listen, that's a whole nother thing of just like the people who you surround yourself with of, I wonder if David would have listened to the services like, hold up, why are you not going out to battle?
Yeah.
And just not just having
yes
men
he was coasting.
Around. Yeah.
He was coasting. Hey man, I've got all this stuff. I got covenant with God. I'm in my 40s. Let's chill.
Look in this balcony.
And the devil is like, nah, bud.
Yeah.
He comes in and then he goes, you know what? I got my rights. I got rights because I paid dues. I had so many 40-day fasts in my 20s.
I earned this.
I earned a break.
Woo.
It's a right. I can have it.
Wow.
God said, no, you can't.
What is your heart for leaders, for specifically for Gen Z millennials, these ones coming up? Like what are things on your heart that burden you? That you're like, man, I just I would love to see this, either things you love that you're seeing, and maybe some things you're like, man, we got to grow in this. Like what's your heart for this next generation of leaders?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just absolutely love Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Got them in my house. I love them deeply. I love their authenticity. I love their sense of community, their sense of vulnerability. I love the questions. I love the pushing and all of those kinds of things, but just a hungry spirit and a purity and a sincerity. All those things are amazing. As a father of prayer, I think prayer has become the language for everything. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a lot more worship. You're African.
Yes, sir.
You know how to pray.
Yes, sir.
You learned how to pray.
Yes, sir.
Prayer is different than worship.
Yes, it is.
It's a different muscle.
Yes, it is.
There's an element of faith and of reaching out to God with words.
Yes.
And with praying in the Spirit and of waiting on God, and there being sacrifice connected to it.
Yes. Yes.
And it being infringing, and there's a sense of, touching boredom is beautiful.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think sometimes, and I love it. I mean, the explosion of worship that's touching the globe right now is unlike anything we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. That's all we listen to when we're driving around is and my kids keep me attuned to what's going on. But I care about prayer.
Yes, yes.
I'm talking about pacing in rooms.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Lifting up your hands, crying out to God, praying the Bible.
Yes.
I care about that. I care about this issue of sonship and hearing the Father's voice over your life. The thing we started this podcast with is what I'm burdened over.
Yeah.
Is that getting sonship so rooted and grounded in the core of your being. Because I see an inordinate, that there's really good things. And I think there's an explosion of things happening early for Gen Z and Gen Alpha and things like that. But I think there's an ungodly driving spirit to arrive, to get there. I think there is an impatience with process.
Jesus.
I think there is and I think that's fueled by social media influencers so quickly. Hey, he's making millions of dollars and he's 20.
Yeah.
And it's already happening for him. Why isn't it happening for me?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I think there's an ungodly comparison and that makes us shrink in some ways. And so I care about rooting in prayer. And I love this phrase in John 5. Jesus says, my Father's been working and I've been working. I want to tell you this. Prayer is what calibrates you to working with the Father in the timing of the Father. And when you're working with God, it's fruitful.
Yes.
Things pop.
Yes.
And those things happen, but it's not driven.
Yes.
So I care about the spirit of prayer gets the orphan out of you. And it gets the orphan and the prover, and it brings you into sonship, which I believe opens the ceiling. And that's where inheritance comes. Inheritance is given to sons.
Yes.
Inheritance is given to sons. Okay? So you don't have to hoard, manipulate, constantly use people. Jeez. You get to receive, which means work, but you're working with the wind of God with you.
Yes, yes.
So, I don't know if that fully answers it, but those are several things that I'm thinking about of the next generation. I want them to learn early morning prayer. I want men, young men, to begin to take up the arms of prayer, fight. Yeah. I think prayer's gotten a little too effeminate. I think there's a masculinity.
Yes.
That a lot of us don't pray because it's been owned by the ladies.
Yeah.
And ladies taught me how to pray, but I'm here to tell you, I think there's a war cry.
Yes.
I think there's a war cry that's going to come out of men in this next generation too. Those are some of the things that I'm caring about.
Oh, that's good. Everything you touched on, it is, like you said, and especially my dad being Ugandan, It was very. He used to take me to all-night prayer meetings.
Exactly.
And no worship.
Yeah.
No music. Just prayer.
I need a little worship.
Yeah,
I need
know.
some worship.
Give me a pad or
give
something.
Me a pad. Give me something.
Yeah.
Your dad, that older generation, they different.
No, they said, you don't need that. You kidding me?
I think I think that muscle is so needed.
And that's what it is. It's a muscle.
Yes.
And it's a desperation. It's a revelation that they have.
Yeah.
And like you said, there is and I go to the upper room prayer room all the time. I soak.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
All of it.
It changed my family.
Yeah.
It changed. We got healed in that prayer room.
Wow.
We got a new vision of Jesus that brought liberty. Man. I experienced freedom. I got the burdens, the false burdens of prayer taken off of me. Yeah. So no, it's all of it.
It's all of it.
It's all of it. But I think there's muscle groups.
Yes.
I've been going to the gym a little bit the last couple of years. If you only do chest day, your legs are going to look weird.
Exactly. And we all know that people are like, oh, you haven't touched a leg press
you've been
machine.
skipping leg day for 4 years.
Biceps only. Yeah.
So I just think it's everything.
Yeah. Yep. Oh my goodness. So good. Man, I wish we had more time. I do want to end and love for you to share about Corey Russell online. I want people to get this resource, to be able to be plugged into this community, and just I know a lot of what we talked about is in the discussions of that platform. But maybe tell me a little bit about Corey Russell online. What you guys doing?
Absolutely. Well, I've written 9 books all on prayer. I've done 6 prayer albums. I don't sing.
Wow.
I got music behind prayers.
Oh yeah, I've listened to them. Spirit of Elijah.
Yeah,
come
exactly.
on now.
That's the newest one. Spirit of Elijah. 2018, the Lord told me, go to the online space and teach them to pray. He told me that in 2018.
Oh, wow.
So I started doing 40 days of Teach Us to Pray. That's kind of our flagship, is a 40-day journey. I then did daily online stuff during COVID. And it was at the end of 2020, 2021, the Lord said, I want you to start rolling out courses.
I love it.
Build a family.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of money a month, and begin to pour into a community that will come in.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants everything for free, but I find a little bit of pavement, it brings in the heart at another level.
You have to.
Of buy-in, ownership, of connection. And what we found over the last 6 years, we've now got over 70 courses.
Wow.
Everything on prayer.
Come on.
Every aspect of prayer. And I've been walking through the whole Bible for the last 2.5 years. We're calling it the road to Emmaus. We started in Genesis, and we're currently in Ephesians.
Wow.
And we're walking through the Bible. So over 70 courses, over 300 hours of content.
Man.
So I roll out a course a month, and then I do 3 one-hour lives, consecutive Tuesdays.
My Lord.
A month, and I just burn like this. I just get on there and I just go. And so we've got thousands across the earth, and God has blown my mind with what he has done with this community. And I would just say, for someone who wants, because this is the thing, they said, teach us to pray.
Yes.
Prayer, you need fathers and mothers that can take you by the hand and teach you.
Yes.
And that's what I seek to provide with this online community, Corey Russell Online. And so we've got a bunch of other things. I've got a preaching mentorship that I do. I'm after raising up preachers. It's prayer and preaching.
Yes.
And so we've got a 9-month preaching mentorship. And so I've got a lot of these mentorships that I do, but it's at the end of the day, I want to raise up the next generation. Intercessors and preachers.
Come on.
And so that's what we're doing, man.
And you're doing it well. And I'm about to tap in myself. It's been so beneficial to me. Again, just your ministry, your messages, your the life that you have modeled for us. And so thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for being here. I know it's not going to be the last time, but just so grateful for you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Faith Hustle Podcast. We hope you felt challenged, encouraged, and equipped to walk out your faith hustle. And if you enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on YouTube or any audio platform. As well, leave us a review. It helps us so much in our ratings so we can get the word out to more people. Each week we have these conversations with business owners who build their business God's way. And so we look forward to growing with you on your faith hustle journey. We'll see you next time.